Hi, Bas.
What's up, man?
We are going to dive deep into the topic of self-improvement, into the topic of high
Oh, yeah.
performance, stoicism, how to improve your sleep. So many cool golden nuggets of wisdom coming up for you. So yeah, join us in the podcast.
Let's go.
We see you there. Bas, how you doing?
I'm doing great, man. How are you doing?
Fantastic. We both had a pretty interesting night behind us.
We had.
Yeah, 30 degrees in Barcelona. Barcelona never fails to surprise, and
Yeah,
we here in this beautiful, beautiful place.
beautiful sunrise.
So let me introduce you to everybody that doesn't know you, that should know you. You are a person that I would call a high performer. That's probably also what you call yourself. You're a stoic. You are an absolute workout machine. And yeah, you're very, very driven, get a lot of shit done, very impressive. And that's why I love to have you on the pod today.
Thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it.
So let's just start with what 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 would you define a high performer as?
Oh man, that's an interesting one because a lot of people talk about high performance and peak performance. So for me, that there's a big distinction. Like I think peak performance is rising to a peak of your performance to for a certain event or a short period of time. For me, I really define high performance as a lifestyle where you perform above average for a longer period of time. So it must be sustainable. Could be 1 to 5 to 10 years. So it's an above average lifestyle of performance, but sustainable for a limited amount of time, basically.
Yeah.
So that's what I would define high performance as.
Okay. And how do you make this sustainable? Because I think a lot of people, they get to a point where like they work towards something, they try to reach like some level of peak performance for an event or
Yeah,
to look good in like a suit or, for their wedding or whatever. Even in business, where that's super important, having these like this groundwork right and all
yeah,
these elements, taken care of. But oftentimes people just have this yo-yo effect where they
yeah.
like put everything into that, then exhaust themselves, and then just revert back to their old patterns and behaviors. So how do you take care of that to make it be a consistent thing?
Yeah. That's a very good question. Obviously, it has to we call this the baseline.
Hmm.
So we're first before we do anything crazy. Like the goal is to move your natural baseline. So if your baseline is to perform on a certain level, we want to move that baseline up naturally. So it's increasing the workload over time, creating these habits, setting these systems in place to make it easier, more efficient, and therefore the basic baseline reaches. You hire the basic baseline, basically. Just like Marines, for example, they always refer to you never fall back to, you fall back to the level of your training, the level of your habits,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So it's the same with high performance. The things you're most accustomed to, used to, that's the things you fall back to. So it's your programming,
Mm.
both physically as mentally.
All right. So, okay, so you talked about something super important, which is systems,
Hmm.
having systems in place. So what would these systems be, and then how would you incorporate them in such a way to break up the old patterns
Yeah,
and to make it that like the new standard?
yeah. I think the best system and the most simple system you can implement is a system of creating non-negotiables. So it's like first you have to find out who it is you want to become. So I never look at who's the person, who is someone right now. I always look at like who is it you want to become in the future. Like
Mm,
what is the person you want to become? Could be the entrepreneur, could be the athlete. Like what are the goals you want to achieve? Once you start at the end, basically, you can reverse engineer into behavior. You
mhm.
can see like, okay, I want to become that person. What does that person, what should that person do to become that person, right? So after you've done that, you can start to create your non-negotiables. These are like your basic rules you'll have to execute on a daily basis.
Mhm.
And they basically create your framework, your baseline. So I think that is the strongest system, creating like a small set of non-negotiables
Mm,
you always stick to. So
mhm.
for me, that, for example, that is my non-negotiables, for example, are always sleeping like 5 cycles, so 7.5 hours a night,
Mhm.
a minimum of 6,000 steps a day,
Mhm.
even though I get like 15,000 on like average for the past 7 years. But
Yeah.
like the minimum is 6,000 for a good night of sleep.
Mhm.
So I've created some of these rules. So it's like sleeping 7.5 hours of being really asleep. So
Mm.
8.5 hours in the bed, 6,000 steps per day. It's working out at least 5 times a week.
Mhm.
So there you create these minimum basics and you can improve them over time. So for me, like working out 5 times
Mm-hmm.
is the minimum,
Mm.
whereas someone that's starting 2 times might be the minimum. So you see this massive shift in baseline that will compound over time.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the key. So 5 is my minimum, but I might go to 6 or 7.
Yeah.
Whereas someone regular or the average Joe is maybe doing 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
So we're getting double or triple the amount of progress in the same week. Compound that over years, and that's what I would define as high performance.
I love it. I also love that you started with defining who you
Yeah.
want to be, because
Yeah.
that is like the archetype of yourself, like the image that you have of yourself.
Yeah.
Because you know, if you identify with yourself with someone that's lazy, you know, if you fall back to your baseline, you know, eating ice cream, that's your baseline because
Yeah.
you're a lazy person. Oh, you know, I've worked out so much, but you know, I know that, you know, I don't have the energy for that shit usually.
Yeah.
So okay, I love that. So you set your the expectations for yourself. So usually I'm a believer that that's triggered by something that you want to achieve, that you understand, okay, I have to become this person in order to attract all these other things into my life. So you set the expectation for yourself, and then you create systems that you know this person would have in their life to become them. And then you implement these non-negotiables. So when you implement those non-negotiables, I think it sounds easier in the beginning than it is. Having a clear vision
Yes.
definitely helps. Like
Yeah.
keeping up with them and like sticking to them, because you know where, even if you fall down, like where do I want to go? And so I did these for a while, but now I fell off. But I still know that that's my goal, so it's easier to get back on track, right? But how do you deal with these kind of setbacks where you just fall down because motivation is fleeting? You know, if these systems, even if they're like super habitual, there might always be something in life that comes up. So how do you deal with these kind of setbacks where you actually, you know, fall back into not doing the necessary things, as in, you know, doing the non-negotiables?
Yeah. Yeah. So I think this really comes down to your why, your beliefs, and your identity. So if we look at change of behavior, there's like 3 ways to change behavior. You can change the behavior itself by just chasing a goal and doing something different. Let's say an overweight person wants to lose 20 kilograms to look good. Like it's an external goal, and she would just change what she's doing for a short period of time to achieve that goal. Then there's also change in process. You can change the process, which will also influence the end result. But the strongest change you can create is a change on the identity level. So let's say, for example, a smoker is always a good example. So there's 2 groups. One group that wants to quit smoking. They just want to quit smoking. So they quit smoking. Maybe you know these people, they've quit for like, they count the days. So they come up to you and say like, oh, I haven't smoked for like 73 days. Haven't smoked for like 121 days.
Yeah.
You know? So research has been done that about 90% of these people always get back to smoking. Why? They still view themselves as a smoker. They just created a pause, maybe even if it's unconsciously, right? So whereas the other group change their identity and their opinions and everything towards smoking, right? So they don't view themselves as a smoker anymore. So what happens when you stop viewing yourself as a smoker? The behavior does not match the identity anymore. Therefore, the process and the end result will change. So creating lasting results is about creating change in the core of your identity and your beliefs. And if you do that, automatically the old behavior will not match who you currently are or aspire to be.
Yeah.
And therefore, automatically, you will get a different result. So this will really decrease the amount of setbacks.
So when let's say all of this has worked for a while. I
Yeah.
know from personal experience that I had, for example, one of my non-negotiables right now is working out every single day.
Yeah.
I get out of the bed immediately, like 15 minutes of, you know, getting my body to start sweating, which is, you know, not a really hard thing for me to do because I do that all the time, especially right now in Spain. But so yeah, I've done this consistently, and like every time it was like a life-changing results. But sometimes I did have these setbacks, right? So let's just assume you did everything you could. You shifted your identity towards a person that has all these things in their life, and you know, where every other behavior is not really aligned with what they want to be and who they are anymore. but then for some reason they fall back. What would you advise those people to do in those moments? Because let's say you have a super stressful period. I think for smokers, that might be a trigger. Like, okay, it's been so stressful. I've been such a good boy. I've been behaving, but now, man, it's just too much right now. And then they fall back, and then they're like, okay, I just smoked one day, and then the next day, and then the next day, and then they fall back into this old pattern. So once you fall out of your systems, how do you catch yourself?
Yeah. The first thing is consciously being aware. So you need to be aware of behavior you're doing before you can actively change it, right? If you don't notice the behavior, you'll never be able to change it successfully. So conscious awareness is always key. Being aware of what it is you're doing and why. So that's key. So even though maybe you fell back again, then taking responsibility is also super important. So no one's gonna do anything for you. If you want to change, it's only up to you. It's on your shoulders. You have to like carry the load. So it's really up to you. So conscious awareness is the first one. You have to be aware. Then you have to decide to take full responsibility for your life. You're the only one living your life. No one's going to do it for you. You have to take responsibility. But then there's a really strong exercise that we always do with clients is like we're creating two separate identities. So whereas a lot of people just view themselves as being one, like I'm Bas and Bas behaves a certain way. I feel some sort of emotions. So what we do with these clients is we create two identities. So we create their smaller identity, the person they want to leave behind, basically. Their less self, basically, and then we create like their alpha, best self, best possible version of themselves.
Yeah.
Then we list down all these behaviors underneath these identities. So small identity might be not taking responsibility for his life and always falling back into old patterns, never showing up on time, not being self-disciplined, always finding excuses. So you list down all these things that are now maybe currently a part of you. So this can be confronting. It's also about getting rid of the ego. And you write down all these things there that you want to get rid of, basically. Character traits, things you want to change. And then in the best possible version of yourself, you do it the other way around. Like, I am always disciplined, always on time. I never find excuses. I do whatever I have to do, no matter the circumstances. I take responsibility for my life, for my actions, for the people around me. So you create these two identities, and then you can step into these identities whenever you have to do something. So whenever you might go into a meeting or you're going somewhere important, what is the person I want to bring into that meeting today? What part of myself do I want to bring into that meeting? Not energized, not productive, always late, or like energized leader as a leader with a lot of energy and a lot of discipline and a lot of problem solving skills, whatever. So once you fall back again after this, there's a deeper level to it, which is like creating visual images of who that person would become in 5, 10, 20 years down the line. So if you still keep smoking and keep eating junk food and you keep not replying to people, in 20, 30 years, you will be fat, unsuccessful, no people around you, you will be alone and miserable. So you really want to envision that on their feelings, like feel that is you if you keep doing what you're doing, because you're actively building something, and everything you do, every like behavior you show, you vote for to become someone, right? So actively feel that person, and then you can do that on the other spectrum as well. Like, what will you be if you always keep showing up and be your best version of yourself? You'll probably be successful, reach your goals, you'll be abundant, you'll be happy, fulfilled, right? So that's a deeper layer where you can go into the unconscious to basically trigger these emotions to take action again. So these are the tools that we are using with people if they fall back. So this is also the tool we use as a starting point to find like, who do you want to become and where do you want to go?
Yeah.
And we go really deep, like in a 2-hour session, we dive really deep into maybe old trauma and stuff. And then we after that, we create these identities. And based on these identities, we create their non-negotiables. And based on their non-negotiables, then we finally start creating their routine. Because once you know your non-negotiables and where you want to go, you know the behavior you have to show to become who you want to be, then finally you can make a routine with your habits. As not just like copy and pasting something from internet that's completely disaligned with who you want to be in your core. So this is a really important process to create like your best formula for massive progress and
Mhm.
like effective and fast progress.
Sounds pretty cool to me. So
It's cool.
so you start with the identity shift,
Yeah.
then uncovering. So and also I also heard some manifestation techniques in there, right? So
Hmm.
actually, so manifesting is people think, okay, you just, it's a bunch of woo woo, and you just, you say, hey, I want a Ferrari, and then all of a sudden you get a Ferrari. So obviously your actions need to be aligned with the person that, would own a Ferrari. But then also one thing that you said that I think it's very important is to be able to feel it. You
Yeah.
put it into the opposite way, like feel who you are if it's like your lesser self in the future. Feel who you are, like fat on the couch, no friends,
Yeah.
nothing, just unsuccessful, miserable. Feel how that feels like, and that is kind of yeah, that's interesting. That's one of these. I had these conversations before where it's like a different. There's two approaches. So one of these approaches is like self-love,
Hmm.
and the other one is something that entrepreneurs have a lot, which is like this crippling feeling of insufficiency, which they turn and like negative feelings from the past, and which they turn into fuel, which I think is pretty interesting. It's pretty powerful, and I think both of these methods can be used
For
in their
sure.
own respective way. So you say, okay, you create like this image of fear on the one side. So basically, you're using both techniques. You're creating this image of fear on the one side, which says, okay, look, do you want your life to be like that? Then you also incorporate feelings,
Yeah.
like feeling this emotion,
Yeah.
which makes the whole thing real for your body and your mind. And then you also have the other side. Well, like, okay, this is how you could be feeling
Yeah.
in the future. This is your higher self. So you create both of these images, also something that you then feel and like are able to attract. So you kind of already anchored this feeling
Yeah.
to and emotion to yourself, and then you can strive towards that. That sounds really cool.
Yeah, and also like important thing is like the negative life. Like I really want to make clear to them that that is not a life that's ahead of them. It's the life they're living now,
Mm,
because the actions they're taking will eventually lead to that.
yeah.
So this is basically their current life,
Mm,
and you really, I'm really a fan of like really feeling that,
mm,
because for me it's really important to create a life that's worth living for you. So this is always a core question, like is this the person you want to be? Is
mhm,
this the life you want to live,
mm.
and why? And that is really like the core question in creating this change of behavior for me.
It's a pretty cool approach. It's a pretty cool approach. And also the structure that you implement from there, where you say, okay, let's now look what you need to do in order to make this happen.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
the same thing in business. If you start a business, it's like, okay, I want to do X, Y, Z. Now what's necessary? I want to start I don't know, a bakery. Okay, what's necessary? I need a location. I need people that work there. I need, a register. I need to know how taxes work. I need to know, how to bake bread or
Yeah.
cakes or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's all these elements, and you make it very conscious and very in a rational way, just like list out what's necessary, and then from there on you build these behaviors and no negotiables. Awesome. That's amazing. So maybe let's just jump into what triggered this whole thing for you. Like,
Yeah.
how did you yourself end up on this path of self-improvement?
Oh man. Yeah. Um, what there's man, I don't even know where to start.
Mind blown.
I don't even know where to
Yeah.
start, man. I think I've had quite a journey, but on the other hand, I think everyone has their own like shit.
Mm.
Everyone has their own shit. So nothing is more important or more heavy than the other. Everyone gets their own fair share of shit in life, and if you haven't had it yet,
Yeah.
there will be shit ahead you'll
Yeah.
get. So I look at all things like I try to look at it being even, but for example, I was always overweight,
Hmm.
and I was also a bit bullied with being overweight, and I was
Hmm.
just done with being overweight.
Mm.
Again, it was that first moment, but unconsciously, where I was like, is this the life we're living for me?
Hmm.
First time I basically answered that question unconsciously. No, I don't want to live life anymore like this.
Mm.
And that was basically the first time that I created change, like by going to the gym and finding that all out by myself. It started with just like running in the gym on the treadmill 2 or 3 times a day,
Yeah.
and changing up my food. I was drinking 3 energy drinks every single day.
Hmm.
Only already when I stopped quitting these energy drinks, I lost 3 to 4 kilograms.
Wow. Yeah.
And like stop drinking these energy drinks, stop snacking, and start going on the treadmill. I was like 15 at that time, something about that, or
Nice.
maybe even 13. And that was where this first change was created. And then also like later, I would gain 20 kilo. I would lose 20 kilograms, but also gain 20 kilograms
Mm-hmm.
again because I broke my leg and I couldn't really move for like 11 and a half months,
Mm-hmm.
something.
Oh man.
So I gained that 20 kilograms again,
Mm.
then went through the same process. And afterwards, that was when I also started to feel some friction in like the average things, like working a 9 to 5, going through the motions and the regular life. So that's when I started really to explore like what else is left
Mm.
and personal development. So started that about 16. And from there on, it just, yeah, I've done and tried many things, but there's
Mm-hmm.
happened a lot of things along the way. And what really kickstarted the process into doing what I am doing now and
Mm.
being so passionate about helping people now is that I got into a sort of depression. I think it was like 3 or maybe 4 years ago, which
Mm-hmm.
lasted for like 1.5 years.
Yeah.
And I let go of everything. I was completely wrecked. And again, it wasn't a life worth living for me. And I
Mm.
really felt like if life is this in this way, it's not worth living for me. So, and then I stumbled upon a book on Stoicism, The Obstacle is the Way,
Mm-hmm.
basically talking about that experience that these things are the fuel you need or the building blocks you need to improve yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And that has propelled me on a journey towards going very in depth into Stoicism, human behavior, teaching that to people. So without these things happening in the past, I wouldn't
Mm-hmm.
have been here today. So I
Mm.
really believe that. So these are some things that has created these shifts for me personally.
Man, thank you for being so honest with this, and I think it's important for others to realize and understand. I mean, it's not all butterflies and sunshine.
Man,
It's
no.
you know it's you're also not like an extraordinary human being, like in the sense of everybody can achieve what you can
Mm.
achieve. You know, like it's the difference is your mindset.
Yeah,
That's what makes you successful in what you do,
yeah,
because you perceive these challenges as a chance to grow. And and I completely hear you when you say, okay, you know what? I changed my life, then I went back and changed my life and went back. So the thing is, your initial transformation was, okay, hey, I can actually take control of my life. Like I'm saying this
yeah,
because I've been through this as well. You know, I started working out when I was 15. I was also a little chubbier as a kid, and um, so so um, so you implemented these changes and they led you a certain way, but obviously there's been years of programming and maybe you didn't have all the mental concepts to implement
yeah,
all these things in such a way that it's a long lasting change,
yeah.
and then you fall back and then you get back up again and fall back and get back up again, and at one of these points, and I think that's actually life on a metaphysical level speaking, that's
Yes,
just like pushing you back and throwing you into like the same experience all over again until you understand, okay, what is the lesson here?
for sure.
What is the lesson here? Why am I always falling back to this behavior? Why am I still like a snacking machine, even though I know that's exactly the kind of thing that I want to run away from because it's not been, helpful or healthy for my life. So it's pretty cool to see that, many people have these experiences where they try something and in the beginning not a long lasting change, but once they understand, hey man, this is really not the life that's for me. This
Yeah,
is like, it doesn't make sense for me to keep going down this route, and then seeing and visualizing. And I think, yeah, that kind of is ingrained in your program, visualizing like what is the downside, what is the potential, what is the life that I'm gonna leave or lead in the future now,
yeah,
like that, what is, if I keep going like this, what's the end goal? So I think goal setting is also in that sense a super important thing where you visualize, which is also some of your techniques, visualizing not only who you want to be, but also who you want to, become. And all these struggles that we go through in life, I feel like they put things so much into perspective because yes, every day it is hard work. Like if
hmm,
you go to the gym, if you, keep, your diet in check and all these things, obviously they can become easier as you go on, but it is all hard work.
yeah,
And it's, you can either have the struggle of, this, of discomfort, or the struggle of never reaching your true potential.
yeah,
And I think there's a certain type of person and people that understand this mindset.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
it is a fear-driven approach, but like the fear of not becoming who you actually meant to be, who you actually can be, like breaking your limitations. And so people go, to put into perspective, people go clubbing, they go drinking, they do a bunch of dumb shit, because that's how they brought up, that's how society works, and that's like the easiest way to get dopamine.
Yeah.
But breaking your limitations, doing things that you couldn't do before, man, that's a high that nothing else can give you.
For sure,
So,
man. But
yeah,
you have to know that you want these things by going to the club 1 or 2 times too much and realizing, oh man, this is not for me anymore.
yeah,
So you have to be out in the world trying various things to find out what it is you want or not.
yeah,
So, but I completely agree, man. It's like once you find what it is you truly value, once you find what it is you truly want to spend attention and time on, then yeah, doing these things makes you way more happier, makes you way more fulfilled.
100%, 100%. Now, let's talk about breaks real quick,
Yeah.
because I do think they're incredibly important. That's something that I have neglected in the past. These levels of like high performance over a stretched out period of time without any recuperation of energy or like
Hmm.
mental, gaining back some, just taking care of yourself,
Yeah.
right? What are your systems for that? To not overspend yourself and
Hmm.
recharge yourself in a way that's still healthy.
Yeah, so you want to know what it is you're capable of, and you want to also find what that limit is and maybe learn to over time stretch that limit. But breaks are super, super important. So we plan breaks.
Hmm.
Like it's part of our planning. It's
Hmm.
not things that occasionally we might be doing. No, it's part of the plan.
Mm.
Part of the plan is to plan the break,
Yeah,
right? To recharge, and even
yeah.
if it's a forced recharge. And obviously there are like times when you should take some lesser breaks to put in some more work,
Mm.
obviously. But we plan these breaks always. So it's super, super, super important. And if you feel like you've gone through a period of really hard work and you need some more rest,
Mm.
it's super important to listen to that as well. Because I
Mm.
really believe like everything in life goes in cycles. We sleep in cycles, we focus in cycles, our progress goes in
Mm.
cycles. Like we go up massively in life, everything seems to feel right, we're flowing, we're gaining momentum,
Mm.
and all of a sudden, boom, something happens, we get drawn back to the ground again, and everything is in cycles. So that too will also pass, and you will soon find a new moment
Yeah.
of progress, right? So everything happens in cycles. So if you feel like you've spent all of your energy and you need
Mm.
to recharge, yeah, it's probably time for a recharging cycle, to take some time off or to plan that as well. But a lot of things, almost everything is planned.
Mm.
Like it has a function.
Yeah,
We don't do anything, like we do everything on purpose.
yeah. I like the planning approach, because coming from, also things like being a chubby kid in the past,
Yeah.
and people say, "Hey, listen to your body." Well, if I listen to my body, I'm eating cake all the time.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah.
so I mean, well, I had this recently where, I was really, overspending myself. And there was one day where I literally couldn't think anymore. I just like had to take a break. But then again, I find it very difficult because if you say, hey, you need breaks every once in a while, then you open up the door to kind of to laziness. I feel like you open up the door to
Mm,
laziness because it's very like the devil is lurking around the corner, man.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
so easy to say, okay, you know what? I deserve this. I deserve some more snacks, or I deserve laying in bed, or I
yeah.
deserve going on whatever it might be. So I love the planning approach. Now, how do you listen into yourself? Do you listen into yourself in such a way that it cannot become a thing that um, d- drags you away from the success that you've had from let's say over
Over chilling,
relaxing,
over
over
relaxing.
chilling. Yeah.
Yeah, over
Oh, I like
chilling.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, a good question I think everyone should ask themselves is like, what is draining my battery? What is like costing energy?
Hmm.
And what is charging my battery? Like,
Hmm.
what are activities that are charging my battery? Could also be like going for going for a sunrise walk could
Mhm.
massively charge your battery, or having like a 10-minute social talk could massively charge your battery. So you want to find like what it is specifically for you that charges the battery
Mhm.
and that drains the battery, and you want to feel like, when do I really feel drained, and what could be things that charge that battery up again. And that can still be like productive things if that is what you want.
Mhm.
So that is a really good approach to find that out for yourself. Like, instead of just a lot of people are reactive, right?
Mm.
They just give in to their impulses,
Mhm.
to their emotions, and they just go with the flow basically, and they just hand it over to fate. So it's about being it's about being active, active in your behavior instead of being reactive. It's about taking ownership, taking responsibility.
Mm.
And then you can find, like, for example, that is a really good example. So what is draining my battery, what's charging my battery. And beside that, if you need like an extra break, then it's good to journal. Like, why do I need this? What have I done? What would be a
Oh.
good thing
Oh,
to
okay.
recharge it,
Yeah.
and to put these thoughts on paper, but also look at your goals. Because I think a lot of people, when they get into over chilling, they
Yeah.
forget about their why, they forget about the self they want to become, they forget about their goals, they forget about their progress, and then they just let it all slide. So think about your planning, think about your goals, think about it, who it is you want to become, and then you can plan actively, intentionally, that break to recharge you.
Man, I'm actually gonna implement this advice in the terms of like asking the why.
Yeah,
So breaking off your patterns and over chilling is basically forgetting the why you do this, why
yeah,
you do the hard work. But then also asking yourself, like I love to journal, to just gain clarity.
yeah,
So writing down why is it that I want to chill right now? Do I need this? And what is actually, able to recharge me? So, man, that's some really, really cool tips.
nice. And you might not always know the answers, because they're still like feelings and unconscious behavior. So you might just feel like, man, I'm drained, I need a break.
Yeah.
So then, yeah, then you might need to take that break, because it's about, you don't want to overwork.
Mm.
You don't want to show like destructive behavior. That's also high performance, knowing when to take a break,
Mm.
when to take time off.
Hmm.
For example, good example could be when you're having this day where you're super out of focus and you have no energy and you're just sitting behind your laptop basically doing nothing.
Yeah.
It's also high performance to either go out and find a way to reset your focus and
Mm.
get back to it, or to say, okay, today's not working. I'm gonna stop working, plan my morning tomorrow, like plan it all right, and do double the amount of work
Mm.
tomorrow. So it's also about analyzing really how you feel,
Mm.
and yeah, that's also high performance. Knowing when to stop and when not to take action, just like in business.
Yeah.
Know what opportunity not to take.
Mm.
Know what not to spend your energy and time on.
Yeah.
Clubbing,
Yeah.
alcohol.
Uh-huh.
Know what not to do is also a big part of the thing. Like, there's always duality.
Yeah, I like it. I think it's also something really I think it's something really calming to
Yeah,
know that it's part of the plan.
yeah,
And actually in my past experience, when I take breaks, the world feels just so much more amazing.
yeah,
It's so insane. You're like walking through the city, and then you're like, wait, I have nothing to do right now. How is that?
yeah,
Wow, that feels cool.
yeah,
But I mean, you deserved it, and you use it as a fuel for growth. So it's
yeah,
actually helping you. Like also like with sleeping, for example, all these other things. Like taking a break basically helps your subconscious do the work for you.
yeah,
First of all, you recharge, but then second of all, also you allow passive thinking
yeah,
through your framework and mindset, but coming up with solutions also. Like it's the same with meditation or thinking about your business, whatever it might be. Getting into that state where your subconscious just does the work for you. You don't have to actively all the time keep on chasing, but then also being able to breathe and relax. So yeah, I really,
yeah,
really
man.
like that. Really
And
like
also,
that.
like, so I look at performance as cycles.
Mm.
Like, for me, everything is cycles.
Yeah.
So we sleep in cycles, our
Mm.
focus goes in cycles. So everything is cycles. So a question, the way I look at performance is, okay, tomorrow I want to perform on a high level. So tomorrow morning, a new cycle starts.
Mm.
How can I be my best self in that cycle? How can I prepare to the best possible level to be my best self in that cycle.
Mm-hmm.
Part of the cycle that comes before that is rest,
Mm-hmm.
right? So we always look at doing things as cycles. So now resting is also a cycle. Sleep is also has become now a cycle to help you get into the best possible state for the new cycle. But also the cycle of sleep has to be prepared, right? You cannot just stop working, lay in bed, close your eyes and sleep. No, that has to be prepared as well in the previous cycle. So it's all about like optimizing these cycles, and then breaks are part of it, because if you're not taking breaks, for me that's we're not doing anything like hustle culture kind of, because you will just burn out. You can hustle for a year, not sleep, not do anything healthy, not taking any breaks, but then you crash after maybe half a year or a year, and you crash tremendously, and there's no compounding, there's no results. However,
Yeah.
if you find a way to increase that baseline, like marine level, basically on a performance level, you know, and you do that for years, that's like a formula to really create change. So this is the approach that we're really taking.
Super dope. Super. You actually hit one of the points that has been a big pet peeve of mine, or like something that I've done a lot, which is like high performance all the time, you know, no breaks, nothing, and
Yeah,
just like keep on going for insane amounts of time, and
yeah,
then actually like just breaking down and having a super huge break period, just to recuperate and recover. And it makes sense. So in your approach, if you see it as a cycle, you're like, okay, well, there is output, but then there's also input, and then there's also recharge. And I just extended these periods. So naturally, the periods where rest was necessary extended themselves. So it was just like my subconscious, I'm
yeah,
guessing,
yeah,
or my body just actively like putting the break in
yeah,
just to be able to keep this kind of balance going. So yeah, in that sense, it was an approach that I had to learn for myself as well, which
yeah.
is, how do I plan
Fine.
breaks? How do I
Yeah,
find this balance? And how do I not get into like can I have constant output while still this whole thing being maintainable,
yeah,
and not overspending myself, and not like running into this risk of, oh, now I have to chill for months.
yeah, yeah,
You
yeah,
know?
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And like, so this is about like running a marathon or running a sprint.
Hmm.
So the basic lifestyle has to be like a marathon, ultra marathon, sustainable
Hmm.
lifestyle, right?
Hmm.
But then it doesn't mean you can't still take sprints. So I really love to work in like sprints. I really work on I always work with themes. So let's say, for example, I have to create a new course. I plan like 3 weeks or 4 weeks, and it's the only thing I do, and it's from idea to first sale in a month.
Mm.
And that's how I do basically everything. But it doesn't really influence much the lifestyle. Do I work a couple of hours more that month? Yes. But then afterwards, I'm back because everything is planned, you know? So there's still sprints, and they're still working in themes, like focusing 1 week just on one task, 1 month on one theme or one task, and then getting a crazy amount of stuff done. But it's not a sprint without an end,
Hmm.
which is what a lot of people are doing,
Yeah.
right? They're just like,
And so let's say you have the sprints. Do you take an extended period to say thank you to yourself or something like that? Do you like take a bigger break, or do you just accept that, okay, I can run a little faster for a bit, and then I just go to normal baseline? What is your approach of this?
yeah, I just go back to normal.
Yeah.
Like I don't need an extra thank you. Like the thank you is putting in the work to become the person that I want to
Mm.
become, to create the life that I want to live. It's
Hmm.
like the biggest gift, to make the impact that I can make. So I don't need anything external or anything else to compliment me upon that. It's
Yeah.
just you have goals and you get them done. So that's just but a
Man.
break could be a compliment. Yeah, a break could be like, okay, now I've worked for a month.
Hmm.
I've went for a course, for example,
Hmm.
from idea to the first sales,
Hmm.
and it's done. It's up and running.
Hmm.
I'm taking a week of a holiday,
Hmm.
and I'll just chill,
Yeah.
recharge.
Yeah.
But you already know what you're gonna do after that week.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, that could be an approach. Yeah.
Cool, man. I love that. Um, you just touched upon something like really casually. When I create a product, it's 1 month between like ideation, creation, and first sale. And that's something that is a super important business principle,
Yeah.
which is speed,
Yeah.
fast speed of implementation. And I know you as a guy that is fast in execution, but still at a, you have all your other stuff in order, but you also are able to hyper focus and get things done. How would you say, what is your secret to that? How do you approach this? How do you approach, for example, like a product launch or creating a new course or something like that? And how do you plan it out in such a way that it's maintainable, that it's achievable, and how do you set your goals and the time frame within that?
Yeah, it might not always be achievable.
Mm-hmm.
So there's external circumstances, and maybe there's way much work than you envisioned up front. But so it might not always be achievable. But I really believe in this concept of like how much time you give for something. That's basically what you take. And you might take a little bit more, but not much more. So
Yeah.
if you have to clean your house, that example,
Mm.
you can plan a week to clean your house and do every room at a time, or you can take like 2 hours, set a timer.
Mm.
Put on some music and give everything you've got.
Yeah.
And you probably get close to the same end result. Maybe you spend 2.5 hours.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really a principle I believe in. So I said, like, I challenge myself on like, how fast can I do this? And by challenging the frame of mind, like how fast can I do this, you come up with a different way of doing it. So that's the very interesting part. By looking at it differently, you'll have to change the process to get there in time. Like you have to focus on different things. And it's just really, I continuously try to challenge myself with like raising the bar with that to basically filter what are the shitty tasks I shouldn't be doing. Like what are the tasks that are not like creating instant results.
Yeah.
So that's a way to do it. And then it's always starting at the end. So that's what a lot of people are not doing. It's like they just start at the beginning, but I always try to start at the end. Like, what is the end result? What should it roughly look like? You cannot always answer this question, but yeah, maybe it should be a course. Okay, what should the message be? How many videos would it probably need? It need a platform, it needs filming, it needs sheets, whatever. Now you know what you need. They can start to like reverse engineer that back to today.
Yeah.
Okay, where do I have to start now in order to finish that in a month?
Cool, man. It's interesting what you said. This setting yourself like a time frame, maybe even a slightly unrealistic time frame, or actually a hardcore unrealistic time frame. so you see what are my limitations and how can I overcome them, right? This is kind of like design thinking. This is also part of digital transformation, like overcoming, like seeing your limitations and overcoming them using different processes in order to get to a result faster.
Yeah.
So I completely, you just threw me back to a time where I was trying to write a book, right? So sometimes I'm like, I'm crazy. I'm crazy when it comes to the output that I think I'm able to do. Sometimes I overvalue it, and sometimes I undersell myself. But I literally sat down a couple of times, like, oh, I'm gonna write a book now. Boom. And then I sit down and I want to write a whole book. And that was like a few years ago. I had like no idea about structuring whatsoever. And now, like looking back, it's insane to just like sit down and try to do that. Like it's admirable. It's kind of cute, but it's not really working. So like, how can I make this happen in such a short time frame? And now I have a completely different approach because I learned like this does not work. And it's also good. Like it's also okay to have failure and to see, okay, because this is something that can really happen. So you set yourself like an ambitious goal. You set yourself like a short, super short time frame, and you try to make it happen. Now it doesn't work because you were like super idealistic about your goal setting, about your capabilities to achieve something. Now you could just end up sad and be like, oh man, I just don't have it in me, I couldn't do this thing. Or you can learn from that experience. And I think it's important to make the distinction. It's important to understand that you at least tried. You at least tried to do something, and you always gain something from that. So for me, it was I sat down. I realized I cannot write a whole book in a day. Well, now I would challenge that actually. Like a book in a weekend, in a limited, it's kind of possible, kind of possible. So now I have a different approach. So with my course, for example, it's like writing a book. So when I wrote the scripts, it's the same thing. Like, what's the end result? Okay, how can I start a business? So I need to understand how are all these steps listed out? Like, what is the structure here, right? And you reverse engineer your way back to the very first step. So I needed to be conscious, like what people don't know about business creation and what is like the first stepping stone in the right direction.
Yeah.
So also that starts with, direction in life and then, goal setting, all these things. Now, I understood I have a structure. So I have modules, which are basically like, chapters, and then like different lessons or, wait, what is it in a book? In a book, you only have chapters, right? You have like the over.
Chapters, maybe sub-chapters
Yeah,
or like
yeah.
paragraphs. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So you have chapters and then you have sub-chapters, and that makes things so much more easy because you already have the storyline. You know exactly what's going to happen in that book, but now you have a framework to work on to
Yeah.
focus your mind like on a piece of that, like hour by hour, day by day,
Yeah.
and you don't have to stress yourself out about like where's the story going. You can still change it a little bit, but where's the story going? I'm so overwhelmed by all these things. No, you have simple little steps to follow that you can execute within your level of capabilities and without being stressed out by the end result because the end result is already there. I just need to fill in the gaps.
Yeah.
So beautiful that, you just threw me back to that so much, man.
Classic. But yeah, you will also get better with this over time, right?
Yeah.
So it's also about knowing what are my skills, what is my skill sets. One of my skills, for example, is talking over writing. So I would rather create bullet points and just press record
Yeah.
than write a script.
Yeah.
Doing the first thing would go 10 times faster for me. I would have 10 episodes in the time where I would normally writing, maybe have one.
Yeah.
So it's about knowing your skill sets, which will also make it faster. You will become more experienced over time and get better at this. But that's also an important thing to like, what is the most efficient route for me?
Yeah.
If you're good at writing,
Yeah.
then find someone to maybe turn that script into a video. Could also be animation, whatever, So find what it is you're good at, and always start there. And that's also the key for like my content production. Like the thing I like is talking, basically. So not that I like really. Yeah. Anyway, I want to say not that I really like to talk always, but
come on, we both like talking. We're doing a podcast right now. I mean,
yeah,
obviously.
But it's like video content, basically. Talking content is like the thing that's most easy for me. So that's top level, and then you can cut that in all type different sorts of things to repurpose that, and even maybe let someone script it, and you have a blog post, or you have like 10 blog posts out of this one podcast, right? So start at what you're good at and knowing what you're good at, and that will really like massively speed up the process.
Awesome, man. Let's try something. If you meet like the average Joe, or the not average Joe watching this podcast, because if you're watching this, you're not average, my friend. But okay, so someone is interested in changing their life drastically, like in a performance-based level. So let's try to maybe curate some absolute fundamentals to immediately like increase energy and increase productivity and these kind of things. Like, what are some of your golden nuggets of wisdom that you can give somebody that are easy to implement but give drastic results very quickly?
Like things you can do straight away.
Things you can like, you watch this video, you're like, oh, okay, I can try these things. And I know you said, okay, there's like, you dive deeper into like, how is this person working? Not everything you find on the internet is something that should be copied. But there's some easy things that you can implement in like how to create a healthy lifestyle. That's the question.
Yeah. Man, there's 1,000 things you can do, right?
Let's pick 5.
That's good. That's good. First example, what I'm drinking right now is water with salt, right? salt is a massive thing for energy, which a lot of people don't know. We think we have to hydrate, but our body cannot hydrate without salt. So water does not stick into the body without salt. If you smell your sweat, it's never just water, right? It's always something like salty. So you need salt in order to hydrate the body. So I start my day every morning with like 400 to 500 milliliters of water with this salt. It's raw Celtic sea salt. If you cannot find that, Himalayan sea salt raw also works, but prefer Celtic or gray salt, it's also named. And that's really what you need to hydrate. Same with the brain. Brain is for like, I don't know how much percent water, 80, 90% water. If the brain dehydrates with only 1 or 2%, which will happen fairly quickly multiple times a day, that's when you experience like lack of creativity, lack of decision making, brain farts, a blackout, you know, like I wanted to do something, but I forgot. You know, these moments when you're working, your brain is dehydrated. You've used up the machine basically. So you need to hydrate with water and salt. So drinking salt water, especially in warmer climates, you need it even more.
Is that because the salt kind of like has the potential to save the water, the hydration, or is it just because or is it like a thing where the salt is like on a neurological level, helping the neural pathways? Do you...
Both. You need like electrolytes for the brain to function, for the muscles to function. So these electrolytes, magnesium, sodium, potassium, are all in that specific type of salts. So you're basically just taking electrolytes to make sure your muscles and your brain is functioning well. But besides that, if you would just drink water, you would just pee it out because there's no way for the water just to stick and stay into the body. It needs salt in order to do that. So this is a massive performance thing. If you understand salt, you can eliminate like brain fog. You can have way more control over your energy in the morning. You can eliminate 90% of your headaches. You can go way deeper and more in terms of workout if you understand salt, like muscle functioning. So taking salt is a massive first thing.
Why are people afraid of salt sometimes?
Because it's man, we're wired and marketed that way that salt is bad for you, which is just like table salt. But table salt is just basically filtered only the sodium, which if you take too much amounts of only the sodium, you can potentially create diseases. But if you take like a raw salt, has 84 plus active natural biological minerals in it, which really help the body to stabilize and function. So that is what you need. So get rid of all the shitty salts, buy good salt, like organic Celtic sea salt or gray salt or organic raw Himalayan salt. Never use anything else in your life anymore ever. Get rid of the rest. Only use these two, and you're done.
Okay, cool. Okay.
So that's the game of salt.
Okay.
And there's whole books on salt. Maybe the name was even the game of salt. I don't know. But looking into salt is something that could give you way more energy. Besides that, hydration in general. So just hydrating more will make you healthier. But also like movement and sunlight. Like every morning, like don't use your phone, but get sunlight into your eyes. Is like what resets your circadian rhythm and your biological clock, and that will really like help you be energized. So get enough sunlight in. That's why breaks are important. So sitting and staying behind your laptop in a dark room is not gonna help you be energized and productive and help your brain function on top level. So you need to implement like systems around that to make that happen every single day. And these are some of these things, like first thing in the morning, go out, get sunlight in your eyes, move the body, get oxygen and blood flowing, hydrate. So these are the main three things. And like sleep, go all in on sleep. Like if you want to improve your performance, sleep more. Want to lose weight, sleep more. Want to make more muscles, sleep more. Like sleep is the foundation that I want to sell everyone to. Like sleep more and optimize your sleep. That's gonna make you feel a crazy amount of times better.
All these tips were wonderful. Let's just dive deeper into sleep. a little bit. I just want to know
A little
how
bit is
you,
good. If we
yeah.
go really in depth, we can do like 1.5
Yeah, I
hours.
believe so. I
Yeah,
believe so. But just so to pick up on the like how to get into like I don't know if it's onset insomnia or whatever that's called, but
yeah,
getting into sleep because we you talked about this before. You kind of like work and then fall asleep. I mean that works if you're like extremely exhausted because the day was super hard and there's nothing else you
correct.
can do. You know, you don't even check your phone, which is cheap dopamine, which should not be in your brain once you get to sleep because you want to just relax. So how can someone properly prepare their sleep cycle?
Super good question. Um, yeah, to answer really in depth would take at least 30 minutes,
Hmm.
but I quickly want to say two things that to crush some beliefs people have, because I think it also starts there.
Hmm.
Like more than 90% of the people that say they have insomnia, they don't.
Hmm.
And uh, only 2% of the world population has some sort of DNA that's different, where they can perform on 6 hours of sleep a day.
Hmm.
So all the 50% of the population that says like, I can work on 6 hours a day, I don't need 8 hours,
Mm.
they're lying. It's just
Mm.
2% that has a different DNA. So 90% of people that say they have insomnia, they don't. And all the people that say they can function on less
Hmm.
sleep, they don't. They
Okay.
can't. They will get sick, they will get cancer, Alzheimer, diabetes, something like that. They could get that in the
Yeah.
future. So having that solved, you're probably likely not one of them.
Hmm.
So you need more sleep, but you're also not someone with insomnia.
Mm.
So there's things to solve. So it's all about behavior. And the good thing with sleep is you can change almost everything. So where a lot of people look at sleep as something they don't have really much control over, you really get what you put in. So if you
Mm.
change your behavior, you get different quality of sleep. And really for me, this is like we've talked about cycles and preparing. You need to prepare for sleep, and this starts at the morning. So getting sunlight into your eyes the first thing in the morning sets your biological clock. Basically sets an alarm that says, okay, in 16 or 18 hours, we're gonna sleep.
Mm.
So the faster you get sunlight into your eyes, the
Mm.
faster your body knows what time it is
Mm.
and when it has to sleep.
Yeah.
So preparing for your sleep starts at the moment you wake up from your sleep,
Hmm.
and then you have to like get all that behavior in place to prepare for that good night of sleep, which is wake up, don't touch your phone,
Mm.
get sunlight into your eyes and move and hydrate. Yeah. Then you want to, maybe you drink some coffee, but you wait 1.5 hours with drinking coffee for your natural energy levels to rise. Otherwise, you get a fallback in the afternoon, you get a crash. We can go more in depth on like how it's working in the body, but
Hmm.
it's just the way it works. And then you stop drinking coffee, let's say at about 12, you stop drinking caffeine at all, because it takes like 10 to 12 hours. It
Mm.
takes like roughly 10 hours for the first 50% of a cup of coffee to get out of the system. Then it takes a couple more hours for the rest of the cup of coffee
Mm.
to get out of the system. So you want to stop with caffeine, let's say, for example, 12, and you don't want to take caffeine, and then you want to hydrate really good throughout the day, eat really good throughout the day. The last meal of the day should be really carb rich, which will help you
Oh yeah.
sleep deeper. Then also you want to have like a 3 or 4 hour break, like after eating, before you go to bed. And also like hydration, last hour, 2 hours, you don't want to hydrate much. So make sure you get all your fluids in, let's say 2 hours before you go to bed.
Hmm.
And then maybe you drink one more glass in the last 1.5 hour to have one tea and take some water for some supplements. That's it. No caffeine, no screens when it's dark, wear a blue light blocker, whatever. These are like basically the fundamentals.
Hmm.
Now we're not explaining why these things work, but
Yeah.
this is like a basic framework. If you install that, your sleep will improve drastically. Then also get everything that's in the bedroom out of the bedroom. Like the bedroom's purpose should only be to sleep.
Hmm.
So get rid of the television, get rid of your phone.
Mm.
Phone is just a rule, doesn't enter the bedroom. Laptop doesn't enter the bedroom.
Mm.
Like there's no electronics in the bedroom at all. As maybe a wake up light
Mhm.
that's help you wake up in a more natural way. So wake up alarm, highly recommend getting that. And then the bedroom is only for sleeping, sex, or cuddling. These
Mm.
three things are allowed in the bedroom.
Mm.
And then that's basically creating your sleep oasis, because
Mm.
the brain is always working in like rhythms and habits. So you do one thing after the other, and you show behavior because you've triggered that behavior somewhere else. So let's say, for example, a lot of people are on their phone
Mm.
while they're in bed, right? They lay in bed, go scroll on TikTok, Instagram for like 45 minutes, and then they want to sleep. First of all, massive amounts of blue light. So basically you're again resetting that biological clock, saying to your brain, like you want to sleep emotionally, but your brain thinks it's 3 p.m. in the afternoon
Yeah.
because of your screen. But besides that, now every time you associate your bed with scrolling 45 minutes on your phone. So when you are tired and you feel like, man, I really want to sleep, and you're laying in your bed, your brain thinks it's not time to sleep, it's time to scroll 45 minutes. And then, so you've
you
got
build
all
these
these habits that are
habits and-
destructive.
Yeah.
You need to completely redesign the way you live your day, which is fairly easy. It's easy habits. And after you've done them for some weeks, they're just your new natural way of operating, because you also feel way better. So now these things for me go really like unconscious, basically, unconsciously. So yeah, that's these are some tips, like improving your complete sleep. Maybe even if you're insomnia, it's possible, but would take like hours to really get into place, because how you sleep gives you also information about what behavior you should change. So tracking could also be a good thing. If you wake up, for example, between 4 and 5, if you wake up between 4 and 5 and maybe you have to pee between 4 and 5, means you're drinking too much in the evening. Get rid of, stop drinking earlier, you'll not wake up at 4 and 5. So these are like the things that are happening, is also showing information, which is directly linked to behavior you can change. So knowing that it's changeable and believing in that is the first thing. If you believe it's changeable, then you can find out, okay, how?
Yeah.
And then you'll make progress. But if you're fixed and you think like it's just the way it is, I'm always a bad sleeper,
Yeah.
you'll never get to the how, you'll never discover it.
Fuck that fixed mindset. Nobody needs that in their life. Nobody needs that in their life. Well, I know you there's a lot more information and more in-depth information on how to, why all these things work the way they do. And I think the best way to get to know more about this is to follow you and check out your stuff. So, yeah, man, if you want to plug where people can find you, that'd be the perfect time to do right now.
Nice. Yeah, I'm just Bas Bults on Instagram, so it's at BASBULTS, and hard to pronounce for a lot of people, Bas Bults. But anyway, on all platforms, that's basically it. So Bas Bults on YouTube, Bas Bults on Instagram, and yeah, that's about it. Company name is LiveLab. If you want to have a look at the course or the website, you can find that at livelab.education. Yeah, that's it. Everything is on my Instagram profile, basically.
Awesome. Check this guy out. I'm gonna link everything down below so you can have a deeper look. Bas, it was an absolute pleasure.
Same.
Thank you
Likewise,
so
man.
much for being on the pod.
Thanks, bro.
It was
Thanks
really
for having
nice.
me.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many more interesting conversations that you are gonna have in the future, so I highly recommend you guys checking him out.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, so I hope you get a good understanding of how you can approach life in a different way to stay more stoic, have a better performance, and with that being said, good luck with your life and your business creation.
See ya.